And there he was, above them all, sat upon the great mount that was of his kind. He saw them, the things they cast upon each other, the war, the blood, the pain and the tears, and he smiled, for it was good. My father admired the Nazis. I think in part it had to do with their modern weaponry at hand in combination with their tenacity. All I know for sure is he sent me to them, his one begotten son. At least that's what I thought. I was created. He made me, then sent me to them, the Nazis, a weapon to aid their cause. Only things didn't go as expected. He miscalculated rotation of the earth or something or other. Yes, even gods make mistakes. I forgot to tell you that. My father's name is Mars, god of war, not the planet. And I am his son, man of war. At least that's what they called me in World War II. Back to the miscalculations. I didn't make it to Germany. I landed in Ohio, Dayton. Nice town. Quiet back then. Bigger now. Not quite as nice. So to make a long story short, if you know about Superman, you know about me. I have strength, invulnerability, and I have a sword. His sword. My father's. It doesn't have a name. It's big, glows yellow, can cut through anything. Ever see what happens to a bug when someone steps on it? That's what my sword does when I use it on people. Really meant for bigger targets, but you should see people's faces when I use it against. If you also know about Superman, I rejected my father's values, learned to be a good American, fought against the Nazis. Honestly, I don't know why they didn't print a bunch of stories about this stuff back then. You think America, they want to show off their toys. Be the big kids in the sandbox. Do you know what a sandbox is? I don't know if kids play with those anymore. I don't know. Maybe they weren't sure if it was going to work out. Maybe they thought I might remember who I really was. But I hadn't forgotten. I mean, I knew I was the son of Mars, god of war. I just wasn't. I'm not sure if I can explain, but the gist is I didn't turn. I forgot the good fight. One of the reasons the war ended. Well, you'd be surprised to hear just how bad it was, the things that Hitler made. That's probably why they kept my adventures hush. It would have been hard to explain the rest of it. Makes sense. But that wasn't my department. I cut a tank in half once with my sword. It had this yellow glow, almost like the sun. Cut through anything. Side note, something I didn't think's important. I don't remember remembering the past before I hit Earth. I don't know what happened before the war. Like it never happened in the first place. But it did because I do remember. I know that sounds odd. I remember it happened, but I don't remember it happening. You see the difference? Never occurred to me before. I know it's kind of weird, but it's really important, I think, to me. So we won the war. Time blurred around me. Life became complicated. To keep myself grounded, and perhaps to avoid any new reality, I joined the ever-growing collections of super beings around the world. As was my wont, I fought for the good. But again, I did not favor my blade. There were exceptions, creatures impossible to defeat otherwise. But in all else, my powers suited well. I abided. Gods are imperceptible to human beings. I'm not sure why I said that. I'm not sure why I remember it. War returned like an old friend, not entirely unwelcome. However, in that same tone, each new visit felt unfulfilled, like both of us had changed, could no longer connect as we did. My time as a human has served me, it seems. I no longer... War was different. goals were no longer the same, at least in specifics. I was not the same, and I wasn't sure how that struck me. I don't recall it being a more comfortable feeling, but what is comfort for someone like me? Again, the human mind, it's complicated. In the time between wars, I strove to ground myself. I took a wife, a human identity. I even got a job. Military, it's all I know, you understand. I worked in the motor pool. That may strike you as an odd choice, but at this time, I could appreciate humor. Besides, I was good with my hands. My wife was a good woman. No children. I'm not sure how I felt about that. She didn't like it. I began to search for who or what I truly was. I knew I wasn't human. I knew I was a creation of Mars. But was that all? Is that the sole reason for my creation? My father knew the nature of battle. Despite its reoccurrence in the human timeline, there were stretches of peace. Unless one were to consider the world as a whole, pointless. War abides. Everything else doesn't concern me. About war, that is. The rest of life, it did bring concern. Important, too. I apologize. I'm tired. The one thing I did not envy about humanity. Too many concerns. Like baggage. I've heard that before. Was it a movie? Time continued. Wars came and went. Each one, the scale became less. The goals more obsequious. I began to realize I was no longer needed. If I were to appear in the midst of these conflicts, it would raise the ire of my kind. War was almost a private affair, not only between nations, but between concerns, ideals. I'm not sure how to exactly... My sword speaks. Did I tell you that? It calls for me. Not to fight, not to be used, but to be held. Like a demanding lover, one might say. I think it wanted to look to the stars. Could my father see it? Could he see me? I began to spend my time in the study of war, history, strategy, stories of men who rose because of it, or those who were shattered by it. I left the military. I remember my wife being happy about this. But, you know the concept of plastic surgery, how a few minor alterations of the human body can present one with an entirely different appearance. Like molding clay, creation. I don't think the irony is lost on me. I too am of clay. My father molded me. Now that's someone else. One or the other. How was I made? Has it been that long? I became a scholar, wrote a few books, taught at a college. My wife, memories faded, but new ones appeared. Times I remember in part, but it was like they were more crystal. Details I had long forgotten or never even known to have existed in the first place. For the first time since World War II, I saw life with such clarity. It was refreshing. I felt alive. Beauty is in the details, not concepts. I'd gone through a passage and emerged a new man. A man. Yes, a man. I don't age. My wife, she died. She was a good woman. Did I tell you about her? She was a good woman. Well, I thought I was dying. Some supervillain's evil plan. They are wont to do such things. Small minds. Why kill one when they could kill so many? Perhaps this new vigor had to do with the rising of war across the world. Smaller conflicts than I knew, but seemingly more savage. Perhaps intimacy breeds hate. Rats inside a cage? I don't care anymore. These are no longer my concerns. Perhaps I was never meant to be human. At least in my mind. In body, I never was. I can see them as I look down, like ants skittering across a land of decay and soot. They're nothing more than parts to a machine that doesn't work. They will never achieve what they desire, if they even know what they desire in the first place. True, there are those scattered about that still care, but they aren't enough. They will not abide. I can hear him, clearer than ever. My father. His voice. My voice. I can feel my skin peel away, reveal who I am, who I was truly meant to be all along. You see, I was never created. I just was. I was not cast from my father. I am my father. I only lost myself for a time, set adrift in a sea of confusion, brought about by a cosmic fluke. War is eternal. I remember that. It is the only memory worthy of attention. All else is fantasy. I am war. My purpose is singular, to raise the earth. And so I rise high into the stratosphere, to look down at those pathetic creatures who believe their lives to be of purpose, to believe they might rise from their beginnings to something higher, something unattainable thus far. They will never reach it. They will fall. I am Mars. As I drift here, ready to descend the final time. I smile, for it is good.